So like European regulations, there are the American regulations, and each. So yeah, a lot of data, a lot of AI stuff that we're bringing to it, a lot of infrastructure, but the goal is at the end to protect to it, a lot of infrastructure, but the goal is at the end to protect and serve everyone and protect your privacy. Yeah.
So I'm currently not a full-time employee. I'm a full-time student at UConn. I'm graduating actually, I think in like 2 weeks. I'm really excited, but I would say that my favorite part about being a student is all of the freedom that I have. And when I talk about freedom, that's anything from what I choose to do on like weeknights and weekends, whether it be hanging out with friends, going to games, figuring out something new to cook, all the way to, taking advantage and gearing my education towards what I'm actually curious in. So before this year, we have to pick a concentration for computer science at UConn, and my concentration was in cybersecurity. I'd always been super interested in that, but when I started taking the classes, it was just a lot of the complex probabilities behind the cybersecurity and not actually like hacking and stuff like that that I thought it was going to be, which it was still really cool, but it wasn't exactly what I was driving with. So I took advantage of my education and geared my concentration towards data analytics. So I'm taking data analytics classes, databases classes, and then I was interested in, obviously the buzzword now is artificial intelligence, so I'm also taking a class on that. And just being able to learn, even as a senior, when I don't have to be taking senior second semester, I don't need any more credits. I don't have to be taking like actual computer science classes. Like this is stuff that I'm really interested in, and I'm able to take full advantage of what I want to learn. So that freedom's been super special to me, and I've enjoyed my entire time at UConn because of that. So that's what I would say.
Technology meaning we build in a non-production environment. A production environment is where it's run, and then we do data analytics once the trial is done. And my team is essentially responsible for looking at a protocol, which is basically a plan for how a medication will be tested, and translating that into how this study is going to run. When I started, I was on the technology side of Pfizer, and part of the reason that I am here and the evolution that I was talking about before was I was the only one woman that led a team of 25 to 30 men who were responsible for developing this application. So the reason that I'm in the role I'm in right now is because I had that background. And so what I do every day looks different. It depends on whether we're being audited by one of those regulatory authorities, by Pfizer themselves. They do their own internal audits, but it looks different every day.
So like Erin, I never thought I would leave the classroom. I thought they'd have to kind of wheel me out. And then almost 11 years ago now, I joined the State Department of Education. What do I like most about that job? What I like actually is that I can advocate for students so that districts provide opportunities. Having worked with many districts across Connecticut, we have over, I think it's like 204, I'm actually pretty aware of some of the programming that's offered here at Plainfield High School. I hesitated on that because I live in Plainville, so that's a little difficult. But here in Plainfield, you have lots to be proactive in making sure that students across Connecticut have opportunities.
Jennifer, your work is so incredible. I worked with Jennifer on the Computer Science Commission, and the work that your team was doing to like bring that and make it such a prominent thing in our state was really important. So thank you so much for all the work that you do. This is what gets you guys into college credits and makes sure that you're getting the right education and the right courses and getting credit for all of that work. So thank you so much for that.
So my role is innovation coordinator, um, And what I love about my job is I don't have to grade students. Like, the whole point of you coming and exploring is for you to set your own standards, for you to discover that learning. I used to have in my math classroom a light bulb above the door for those light bulb moments when you're like, aha, I finally get it. And what's so great about an innovation center or a space where you just get to do that hands-on learning is that you just get to go until you've solved the problem that you wanted to solve, whether that's through coding or building or creating. And I just love watching students become creators of their own content, right? We're such consumers. And so it's great to watch you all discover your passion and then put that passion out to share with others.
What were some challenges you faced entering or advancing?
VP of engineering for that team. So it was really, the difficulty there is like the communication styles that we have and the stereotyping and the misconceptions and the biases that we have. So I kind of think I had to work through all of that. And at some point it was, at some point in my career, it's like I felt I was like really trying, like hitting a wall of like all of that together to where I had to step back and think about it differently and think about it as a human perspective, because we all have our needs and desires and everyone wants to contribute and everyone wants to build with other people, but sometimes our insecurities start getting in our way. So in order for me to like grow and become the leader that I needed to be for my team, I had to step back and ask a lot of questions in order to see all of that in a different light. So being curious and starting to ask my teammates and my leads, what are you thinking about? Why are you coming from, like, what led you to make this decision? And instead of like fighting against each other, I started asking a lot more questions. Again, like the curiosity and asking questions like really helps us navigate a lot of challenges that we have, and giving the other side of the table more of the grace of like they're trying also their best to bring their perspective to the table. So I think the biggest challenge is being different in a group. It's not just being a woman across, with a bunch of guys. Even in my classrooms, like we try to do these separations and it doesn't really work, but they kind of help us identify ourselves a little bit. So like removing these labels and like being just human, trying to interact and build something with other humans has been the biggest lesson that I have.
Number one is that I don't know everything, and a lot of other people know a lot more things or a lot different things than I know. And using everybody's strengths to our group's advantage always made our projects look better. So, for example, over the past summer, I worked with Infosys, and we worked on a healthcare-related project. We were basically making a website to visualize where your healthcare primary care providers were. And one of the things that my group mates hated doing was presenting and explaining our work, even though they had been a part of it and they knew what they were doing. And I found that through that process and them not necessarily having that as their strong suit, that was one of my strong suits, and presenting the information that we've been working on and being almost like having the role of a project manager was something that I really enjoyed doing and something I'd like to explore more in the future. So I think definitely appreciating teamwork and the different perspectives and different skills that different people bring to group work and stuff like that is just super important to appreciate. And that was one of my biggest learning curves, but also the one that I say I would appreciate the most.
So I'm going to take it to your level here. When I started college, being a natural sciences major meant that my Thursday nights and Friday nights were not spent going out with my friends, unfortunately. So I think that my first challenges were ensuring that I had the focus on what I wanted to do. What I learned was when you find something that does inspire you, you're ready to focus. So it wasn't a hardship for me, but I will say that that was one thing that I noticed having a natural sciences curriculum was a lot different. One of the challenges in my professional career and I think I'm echoing what everyone is corporate term, and I'm sorry in advance, but I can't think of another good word to say. It's called creative abrasion. It's when you all come together with your opinions, but you have to be respectful in how you convey those opinions. And that was something that we all collectively learned together, because I was the first leader of that team specifically. And when I say we were geographically diverse, we were. And that was prior to COVID. So I was a WebEx kid. And when I tell you we all got together, we did. So I think one of the biggest challenges was learning how to effectively communicate with a diverse group, how to then lead them. And further, I think the last thing I'll say is staying positive, because it's very easy to feel like the differences are something that you should look at personally. Like, what could I, and you have to look at this from I'm here to get a job done professionally, and how can I make it better?
So I'm going to ask a question, and this is a safe space. Feel free to raise your hand. How many of you have ever said in your life, I hate math, I'm not good at math, I'm not a math person? Yeah, that's my challenge. When it comes to STEM, given my role with the State Department, I want my dream in facing that challenge is that if I come back to Plainfield High School in 5 years from now and I ask that same question, not a single hand in this room goes up. Because you are all STEM people. Because to be a STEM person, it means you need to think. And you all have a brain.
Kind of a big picture thing that I'm working with a team to think about. How can we have play-based learning? How can we keep students thinking about inquiry? So yeah, that's definitely one. I want to jump kind of a totally different realm and think finances. And this isn't necessarily female based, but the allocation and the use of financial resources has definitely been a challenge. You know, us teachers, we don't make bank, you know. So when I went back to school, one of the things teachers do is they tend to get a sixth year. But I couldn't pay for that all by myself, so I needed financial assistance. Well, they were like, we can't give that to you because the sixth year doesn't actually terminate in a piece of paper. And I was like, wait, what? So I just switched it, and I was like, fine, I'll just get a second master's, whatever. And then I could apply for the financial assistance. But then it's into the classrooms too, right? There's grants out there. Becoming a good grant writer, and you made me laugh, right? Because yeah, we always hear, oh, math is hard, I'm bad at math. I'm not a great writer. I never thought I was a good writer, you know, but that's not as cool to say as I'm bad at math, right? But so finding those folks, even within the STEM realm, if you're a fantastic writer, join us. Come help us get that money. Come help us find ways to allocate that money. And I think just want to say to all of you, as you're thinking about your next steps, as you're thinking about a career, there's grants out there, there's scholarships out there. So finding those things to make it possible, even if what's in your pocket doesn't seem like it could be possible. And that's really how I've worked to build the space. And even when I run into, oh, this subscription is up, or oh, we don't have enough money for this. It's from two of my girlfriends at work who knew I was doing this. They're like, be yourself, just go get them. You're a STEMinist, rock it on. And so creating that community around you. I have another group of friends from around the country. We're all educators, and we call ourselves the Sparkle Sisters. And it's just a group of friends that if I'm ever having trouble within my personal life, at work, I text them and we offer each other suggestions, and it's just create that supportive network.
Imposter syndrome I have daily. Oftentimes working in state government, I work with colleagues across the country who are in my same role. And inevitably, I always am like, okay, I better not voice my idea. They know so much more than I do. Like, I was just a teacher. Like, I came into this not from a political perspective. And then what I learned pretty quickly is that my voice mattered too. And so every day I find that a challenge to really be willing to put myself out there and know it's okay if others disagree with me, agree with me, and to really build my own professional reputation. Many of my colleagues at the agency have their doctorates. I do not. I never will get one. Um, and that can be intimidating when you're referring to people around you as, doctor this or doctor that. So that's my imposter syndrome.